be so jumpy, everyone would be so afraid. All of a sudden our hands are shaking. You even holding, when you're holding tea, you're like this. I remember even eating lunch, you don't want to eat lunch, you just want to appear busy, because if you don't appear busy, it's another issue altogether. And I remember like he'd open the door, everyone would just freeze. Or you'd open the door, you feel the cold breeze, you just be like, Hi sunshine, welcome back to my channel. Today I want us to do part 3 of my toxic workplace series, where I actually share my experience working in a toxic workplace. And this experience may be similar to you, or you've never heard of it before, but please take this as a learning opportunity and run away from toxic workplaces. So as usual, let's go straight to the video. My toxic work experience actually didn't start out as a toxic work experience. I remember I went to the organization fresh from university, very excited, ready to conquer the world. I had ideas of what a workplace should have been. I've gotten some ideas from the various internships that I had done and had interacted with this organization before. So I was very happy, very excited. And when I got there, the first thing was there used to be, I think there were 2 other people who were working there. And by the second month, these people had left, so I was left alone. If you'd watched my previous video, remember I mentioned isolation. I was left as the only employee, and the argument was the project that I'm currently working on, we don't need many people. So it was just myself and my boss and some other employees, the messenger, the driver, the secretary, the cleaner, stroke cook, stroke the one who used to make tea for us, so the tea lady, if I can call her that. So those are the people who are left in the organization. The first 3 months, it was wonderful, high compliments. I was giving such wonderful work. Output was amazing. Compliments each and every day. Then the 4th month, I don't know what happened, and this person just snapped. When I talk about snapping, like he just snapped. This was 1 month after the other people had left, and we had been left just us in the office. And it now started with a criticism, and the criticism was on my work. So it would be, it's not thorough, I'd improve on that. Punctuation, I'd improve on that. It would be deadlines, I'd improve on that. In terms of things that, constructive criticism. So I would take it and I'll be fine. Then by the next month, now it progressed to personal criticism. Now all of a sudden, I'm not creative in thinking of how to sort and deal with different issues. Now it became a personal attack on me as a person. And up to this point in time, this place had given a very good facade of it's okay, everyone is okay. And the key dreaded word was we are family, and we'll work together, everything will be fine. So it became personal, criticisms on personal. So it would be how I look, it would be how I think, it would be how I react. And you see, each time this person would do that, I would stand up for myself. But now the next time they would do that, it would be even worse. It would not be a 1-minute talk, it would be a shouting match. People outside the office would hear what this person was saying. And it continued. Then now we had threats that were now being put. If you continue like this, I'll even go tell people in the university, even your lecturers, that the output of work, just show the work. It now became threats according to how the person was feeling. So it used to be threatened every morning, continuously. And the criticisms would now move to even now comparing my thinking capacity to someone who's not going to school. The person telling me I would amount to nothing in this world because I am nothing, therefore would give nothing. And it was continuous. And remember the first few months, I stood up for myself. Like, I would be like, no, what you're saying is not true. And he would get even angrier, and now bringing more insults and bringing more critiques. It would be something so small as not putting a comma on a particular paragraph in a 40-page document would cause this person to give a shouting match and talk about how I am not thorough, compare me to someone in primary school who has no capacity, who's not even thought, compare me to another person who's doing the same job that I had done, had no training. And it would be, you see, if this person can do it, why are you making such a small mistake? I said it was just a comma that I didn't put. Then now the threats are over and over again. And when we reached this point of now personal, I think it had taken a toll on me. And I remember I used to feel so guilty. I remember every morning when before I got to work, like I'd be like, today is a day, maybe I'm not reading, I've not kept myself abreast with what is happening. I need to read more, I need to write more documents, what I'm more thorough, I need to get in the line of work. I don't want to dwell so much in what you are doing, but it relied a lot on market information. I'm not getting that information as fast as I should. Like he would get it in 5 minutes, but you see, he'd been working in this industry for years. This was my first 6 months in that industry as a professional, and he would be mad because it would take me like a day. But he'd be so mad because apparently I don't know the right person in which county, so he'd give me the information. Like I had not yet even created my network, and he was not willing to assist in creating the network. He had gone above and beyond to stop that process. Then now it started, he moved to now the stage of making me feel guilty. When you started here, you were doing so well. Now I don't know what's happening, what's wrong with you, why can't you do basic things? And he'll guilt trip me and make me feel so bad. So at this point in time, this is someone who's been receiving ongoing harassment and threats daily and daily. And with time, I just stopped responding or sticking up for myself. I can't even look at the camera as I say that, because the more I stood up for myself, the worse it would become. Like it would become a screaming match for hours and hours and hours. Then at the end, he'd sit down and try to tell me the way he knew what he was doing, it was the best for me. Now that's where the guilt tripping would come, that he went through such things, and because of that, he's come out as an amazing professional. I should be very lucky. I count myself lucky that I have such a person to do that for me. I remember he would call me to his office, and then we'd have a screaming match. So he would scream at me, use very, very bad words, just make me feel bad. And then when he was done, he'd tell me it's my fault that he's actually shouting at me. It's because I am not living up to the standard that he knows that I am able to achieve, and I am not giving what I should give to him, and he has taken it upon himself to be my mentor and to guide me in this process. And I should be very grateful. I remember he told very grateful that he is taking the time, to build and mold me. And the person who mentored him did the same thing. And you see how perfect he turned out. Was he perfect, really? How perfect he turned out and how good he is. So I should be very grateful for the wonderful opportunity, and I should not be sad. Now that was the stage. So I moved from the stage of being guilt-tripped. Now I moved to the stage of shame. When I talk about shame, when you've been in a toxic work environment for so long, you start feeling now ashamed of yourself. Because now these people or this person had convinced me completely that it was my fault. It was basically my fault I was in this situation. It is because of how I'm doing whatever I'm doing. It's because of how my work is, because of my personality, because of the way I look. Like, it's my fault. I am bringing this upon myself. And I remember that's the time we had just gotten jobs in campus, so everyone is meeting up. And I didn't want to go because I knew the conversations people would talk about was work. And I remember we had a gathering and people were talking about work. And then now that's when you realize, guys, the place you're working is not a good place, because everyone has positive stories to share. Of course, they have the negative. And I want to put a disclaimer here. When I talk about toxic work environment, it doesn't mean that I do not like working hard, or I'm not into, what they call fast-paced moving environment. No. That has no issue for me. Working hard is no issue. Working long hours, delivering output, that is fine. But working in a place where someone has gone above and beyond and out of the way to make you feel like you're nothing and make your life miserable, that's where I have issue and where I draw the line. So I moved to shame. And in that moment of shame, I remember you tried to hang out with me, I'd be like, run away, apologize to all my friends, guys. It was not by my wanting. Then the next stage I moved to was the stage of fear. Now, in this stage of fear, it was also I'd get to that area, my body would start reacting. It's like I'm going to war. Like, let me give you a perfect example. If you've ever been robbed before, I have been robbed before. If you've been robbed violently, I've not been robbed violently, thank God. And you remember that feeling of fear. Like if you're robbed on the streets of Nairobi and then you see people just approaching, your body goes into defense mode. You're afraid, you want to cross the road, you're hyperventilating, you're not breathing well. Like physically, your body is really, 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 really not okay. That's how I used to feel. Like I'd get to the area, not even the area, and automatically my body would be feeling so, like I'm going to war. I'd be so scared. And then I remember we used to wait to the secretary at lunchtime in the office washroom, and we would cry together. Don't ask me why we would cry. It was just, it felt nice. We would cry together every lunchtime, but we had to finish before and go back to work. And I remember like this person would come to the office, everyone would be so jumpy, everyone would be so afraid. All of a sudden, our hands are shaking. You even holding, when you're holding tea, you're like this. I remember even eating lunch, you don't want to eat lunch, you just want to appear busy, because if you don't appear busy, it's another issue altogether. And I remember like he'd open the door, everyone would just freeze. Or you'd open the door, you feel the cold breeze, you just be like, it's not okay. Like, it was not okay, let me tell you, it was not okay. It was like very, very fearful. Oh my God, it was bad. And then now I moved to the stage of anger, and I got angry. Because remember I had shared this with, I had a mentor, and I told him what I was going through. And what the person told me, I'll never forget, he told me, remember why you're there. You're there for a period of time, and you need to get your certification. You need to work under someone for a specific number of years. Remember your goal. And that just crushed me. Like, they knew, like I had explained, so he knew what was happening, but he told me remember the goal. But how am I supposed to remember the goal if I cannot even thrive? There's a quote someone told me. Actually, it was Ginny Mai from The Real. She was saying, if a flower is not blooming in a garden, do you blame the flower or do you change the soil? It looks so straightforward. So I told these people, and they did nothing. It was more of, it was no more of, I need to work on me and how I react, as opposed to whatever the hell was happening with everyone and everything. So I moved to that stage of anger. Then now I started to plan to leave. So I started applying for jobs. Like, let me tell you, everywhere. Like, I sent my CV to so many companies, so many organizations, in my line, outside my line. Like, I just sent everywhere. And I don't know if he got a whiff or what. They started telling me, he'll make sure I never work in that industry again. Went back to threats. Then now we moved from threats. Then other days, he would not even acknowledge my existence. He's like, it's like I was not even that. It was like, I was not even a real human at that point in time. So my existence was not acknowledged at all. Then other days he'd come and, the love bombing. He's like, these are books I want you to read. I need you to become the best in this sector. So he'd give me books. Then now the issue is, after the books were given, he'd expect me to remember everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. The way I've been, like I've grown up, like you understand the concept and you explain the concept. Once you understand, him wanted word for word, not understanding, like word for word, like what was said verbatim, say it like that. So that became another issue, because I have not crammed everything word for word the way it was. Now we go back to the threats and the shouting and the what is it called, the not acknowledging my existence is there. Applied to so many places, I didn't get any. Then now at this point in time, like, and I start feeling, stuck. You're like, oh my God, this is it. I have tried applying for jobs. It's not working. I have tried everything. I have tried to see if I improve my work. It's not working. I've tried to ignore. It's not working. I've reached out for help. It's not working. Now I reached a point of coping. When you talk about coping, people cope differently. So my version of coping was isolation. From everyone, from my family, I didn't want to go anywhere with anyone. I didn't want to do anything with anyone. I didn't want to talk about anything. Like, when it comes to friends, I didn't want to meet my friends. I didn't want to go out to do anything. Like, just leave me alone. Let me stay in my room, because I knew in my room I was safe. And the reason it was like that is, like, everyone I've tried explaining, they would not understand, or would not, the right people I spoke to would not give me a way out. There's just some, hanging there, your mental limit hanging there, it's fine and what. So we moved to a point of isolation. Then now, mental health. What was mental health? Crumbling. Let me tell you, crumbling. Like, became a shell of myself. For someone who would stand in front of people and confidently express myself and raise my views, share new ideas, critique new ideas, take critique nicely, we change, repurpose, everything. I became a shell. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't do any of that. Like, I was just there. I laugh because I remember I could do nothing. Like, I was just there. So if you just saw me, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is not working. You need to do this. I'll be like, okay, because of this, is this something, something, something. Okay, I'll just be like, okay, because I knew if I share this, or it becomes another story, which leads to something else, which leads to something else, which leads to so much. And now the last thing that now happened was I started getting physically sick. Like, you'd find I get ENT infections, and I remember, so ENT is ears, nose, and throat infection. So I'd get a throat infection, and these are infections that your body is supposed to be able to fight. Like, it's not one, but I would get such serious infections. They would go. I remember the time I even got a stomach infection from my ENT. I have no idea how that is possible. My body had refused. My body could not handle it anymore. It's like, it's sick. Like, you get strong antibiotics. You know, those ones, like, they put it's called a drip on your hand, and you're supposed to go get injections every week. Like, in a period of 6 months, every week, like every other week, I was there in hospital getting sick, getting injections and everything. I think at that point in time, I was like, imagine, this is enough. Enough is enough. I remember I spoke to my family. Now I spoke to them eventually, explained how everything was doing. Because anytime they had asked, I'd be like, it's fine. I'm fine. I'm okay. Like, it's like I would not open and share it. Like, remember I told you, isolation. So now I spoke to them and told them, I can't continue like this and I'm leaving. So I remember that day. We stayed after some time, handed in my resignation and left, and came to stay in the house. Now, when I stayed in the house, like, I took that time to now go through the process of recovery. Now that's the time I took to understand. First, I grieved. Like, I just grieved that I felt like I had died. A part of me had died and had left me. So I felt damaged, but I felt like there was still hope eventually. Not at the beginning. At the beginning, it was bad. It was just more of crying, anger, fear, shame, regret. Those are the ones that I used to feel over and over again, over and over again. Then I remember eventually, now I started seeing that it was all my fault, because remember, I kept blaming myself. It was my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. I should have done this. I could have done this. I should not have done this. If I had done this, it would have led to, like, it became a me issue. Then I was like, no, no, no. So it took a lot of work on my part and a lot of help from my family to be able to pull myself, and from my friend Flossie, I love you for life, pull myself out of that situation and look at it from not, what is it, it's the word called, not look at it from eyes of another person, like, look at it externally, not internally. I removed myself from the situation and I saw that this was crap. So I started my healing journey. Very, very hard. Up to today, there's still things that trigger, but I'm here. I'm able to express myself eloquently. I'm able to talk. I'm able to stand up for myself. When stuff is not going right, I'll be like, no, guys, I am not doing that, and I am out. So at the end of the day, there's hope, guys. There's hope. So that is my toxic work experience. That's it, sunshine. And the reason I'm sharing this personal story of mine is I know there are people out there who've gone through a similar situation, or even if you have not, I want you to use this as an opportunity to pick out this path before it gets to the extreme level that mine got to, and for you to know that toxic workplaces, it's not a reflection of who you are as a person. It's more of what your abuser, yes, I will call your abuser, that boss who has decided to either verbally abuse you or make your work environment a living hell. It's them who have gone out of their way to make your life miserable, and it's not something that you should blame yourself for, and you should not feel guilty or ashamed and talk about it. The more you talk about it, the more you meet people who've gone through the same situations, and the more you get better advice on how to cope and how to exit, Yes, so that's why I'm sharing this story. And I hope it will help someone, especially those who are just joining the workplace. And you'll be able to see these cases, identify the characteristics, and run and get out before it's too late.